Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our top fantasy football wide receiver rankings for 2020. Specifically, we are talking about wide receiver 3 rankings today. These are the wide receivers you should start looking for in the early middle rounds of your draft so that you can fill out your starters. And you should target them if you want to win your draft, to win your league. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right now.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin and that is Kyle. Boom. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football Podcast and YouTube channel. Like Kyle said, we're bringing you our final run through of Fantasy Football wide receiver rankings. And today we're going to handle those wide receiver 3s. Last week we ran through our running back 1s and running back 2s. Feel free to check those out by clicking the description below, those links, and Kyle will point out the most recent one as well.
Oh, I forgot. It's over here.
I think it's yeah.
I
find myself whenever I watch this back, I'm always pointing the wrong way. So okay, over there.
There it is.
What you got for me, Kyle?
You know what? Click the like button and drop a comment if you guys want. Let us know who your favorite wide receiver targets are in your draft or in your drafts if you're doing multiple this year, and what round you think you can snag that guy in. All right, so let's dive head first into the shallow end. Justin, we're going to do wide receiver 3s like you mentioned. So we're going in reverse order, 36 down to 25. And so who do you have for me at wide receiver 36?
And these are our composite rankings between the two of us. So that's where we get it. So we're going to have some differences here or there. But so our composite number 36, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown of the Baltimore Ravens. And Hollywood, boy, talk about Hollywood coming out on those first game. He just went nuts.
Yeah,
he just went absolutely nuts the first couple games, I think it was, and then I think he had about 10 games of not getting over 50 yards after that.
He disappeared.
So I mean, he had a lot of injuries, a lot of lower body injuries, especially for a guy that was very slight of frame. You usually talk about the big guys getting those leg injuries or stuff, but he's banged up a lot last year, and they said he played at 157 pounds. That's pretty small for a wide receiver in the NFL. They say he's up 23 pounds, so hopefully that means he's going to be more reliable. He is potentially the number one wide receiver target, probably not the number one receiving target on this team.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of boomer bust with him. It's kind of like a Deshaun Jackson light, in my opinion.
I mean, he's smaller. He's probably roughly like the same height, but he's smaller than Deshaun Jackson. But what I would say, I like Hollywood Brown, but for his upside in moments where it's a little too hard to predict. That's the problem.
It is.
And then beyond that, you look at the offense in general, and they targeted the wide receiver position, I think, only 175 times last year. Maybe, talking about increasing the passing game, and I think that they will. Lamar Jackson is a lot more accurate than probably people really give him credit for. And maybe they'll get to 200 passes to the wide receiver position.
Maybe.
Mark Andrews is a volume hog. I mean, he's getting 50% of that on his own. And then, you look at maybe 300 opportunities total in this offense. That's rough to say that he's going to be able to present anything better than wide receiver 3 value. So that's why we've got him in the back of the wide receiver 3.
He might get you a wide receiver 1 number here or there, but then he's going to get you wide receiver 5 and 6 numbers.
Yeah.
All right, who do you got number 35?
All right, at number 35, I have Tyler Boyd, or we have Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. He is currently going, I believe, in the 8th round, 4th pick on average.
That's pretty good value.
That's really good value. He's wide receiver 2 probably in Cincinnati. I don't see T. Higgins stepping in any time. He's on the smaller side too. Tyler Boyd's a little bit bigger guy. And the other guy who
John Ross.
That's a little bit concerned. I don't think Ross is going to make the roster.
He may not.
The guy who I think is a little bit of a concern for Tyler Boyd's value is not A.J. Green. It's actually Auden Tate. Auden Tate is a solid wide receiver. He's not as fast as Tyler Boyd. He's not as efficient as Tyler Boyd, but he can get it done.
Yeah.
So, that's probably, honestly, it's probably one of the deepest wide receiver groups in the league as far as like solid talent that's there. They've just never been able to exploit it. Bad offenses.
Well, yeah, they've never been able to get them
play.
all on the field at the same time, too. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be deep at wide receiver, but not have them out there at the same time.
And
But
the upside that you're getting with him is that if AJ Green does miss any time, he's automatically the wide receiver 1 on that team. He presents probably wide receiver 2 value at a consistent basis.
yeah,
He's one of those guys who's very consistent in his output, and I think
yep.
that's going to remain the same in this offense. So
I also look at the addition of Joe Burrow. He really
yep.
targeted Justin Jefferson in the slot in college. I mean, yes, it's college compared to NFL. It's still one of those things you might be looking down the middle of the field towards your slot receiver if you're that comfortable. You can't ignore that, I would think.
Yep.
So after that,
so go ahead.
Number 34, we have Brandin Cooks of the Houston Texans, and it's really hard to kind of gauge what we're going to be seeing out of the Houston Texans in that wide receiver room. They do have quite a few guys in there.
Yep.
Brandin Cooks has been able to, when healthy, he's been able to put up some really good numbers. It's just he's been on quite a few teams.
Yeah.
And that can't be ignored as well. It's like, why does this guy keep bouncing around? And somehow he's still getting round 2 value out of some of these draft picks. Like round 1, whenever the Patriots trade him, I think. Yeah. So it's just one of those things.
He has all the
intangibles.
He has all those intangibles. He presents them. It's just that he can't. There's something about him that's going on behind the scenes that we aren't aware of.
Yeah.
But on tape, he looks great and he's really attractive to all these coaches and GMs. But then there's something more about it that they're not disclosing, and they're never going to because they're getting first and second round value out of him. So,
all the talk is about the concussion issues that he's had. He's had a few, but he only missed 2 games last year. So, even Bill O'Brien was like, he's had concussion issues, but he's only missed a couple games here or there. That's it. I can take that.
So has literally every other wide receiver except for Randall Cobb on that team, right? I mean, they've got Will Fuller. They've got Kiki Kuti, Kenny Stills. Like, none of these guys stay healthy. So, I mean, out of that offense, it's really tough to say who's going to be wide receiver 1 in volume, right? And it may be Randall Cobb because he's the only one who stays healthy, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But when it comes to talent, it's probably Brandin Cooks.
It's Cooks. Will Fuller is near there in my rankings, but he's behind him.
Yep.
All right. So at wide receiver 33, we have Christian Kirk of the Arizona Cardinals. He is currently in the going in the 9th round, 12th pick, which is blowing my mind. I think that he's probably going a little earlier in a lot of drafts, but I'm not a huge fan of that draft. I think that he's got to go a little bit earlier. He's in a high volume offense. If you like Calvin Ridley, then you've got to like somebody like Christian Kirk, in my opinion. He's come along a little bit slower. His breakout's a little bit slower than either Ridley or Gallup, but I think he has potential this year. He's going to have the focus drawn away from him, and that'll give him an opportunity to really shine. Last year he was dealing with Larry Fitzgerald taking a lot of volume, but Larry Fitzgerald wasn't drawing the double teams the way that DeAndre Hopkins will. So I think that this is a good opportunity for Kirk to finally show up. And I think that he will. He's right in the wheelhouse for an air raid style system, the mesh concepts. He's going to be crossing constantly. And so we're Larry Fitzgerald. It's kind of the problem is that both of them are on the field at the same time, and we know who catches the ball every time you throw it at him. So that's why he gets thrown at. Yeah. So that does draw his value down a little bit, but still, I think he's a solid value. And you can grab him back the 9th round. Go for it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You bring up a really good point, and that's, whenever he was basically the impromptu wide receiver 1 on this team, he wasn't really able to overcome those double teams, and he doesn't have to do that this year. Like you said, it kind of has that open on the side there for him. So number 32, we have Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos, and some people might be like, Courtland Sutton, number 32.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's going in the 7th pick in the 6th round. So we still think that's pretty early for Courtland Sutton. And a lot of it has to do with, we've talked about this before. Look back on whenever Emmanuel Sanders was traded and let us know what you think whenever it comes to Courtland Sutton's numbers. Nothing changed. So a ton of targets left, and Courtland Sutton didn't see that increase. And he also
he's got more competition.
He's got way more competition.
And a better pass-catching back.
You have another year of Noah Fant as a tight end improving. You got Melvin Gordon coming in, who is a pass-catching running back.
They drafted KJ Hamler and get Jerry Jeudy.
Hamler. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of mouths to feed really quick.
You know what that screams to me?
What
that screams to me is John Elway has decided that Courtland Sutton is probably valuable like we think, which is
Right.
not as valuable as a lot of people think.
Yeah.
So I think that's what that says to me.
All these weapons, and it's Drew Lock throwing the ball, which is still there's a lot of
You want to
question
bet on
marks
him
there.
this year? You want to
I'm
bet on
good.
him to get it done? I mean,
Sounds like a dirty bet, man.
No, but if you're drafting Sutton anywhere earlier than maybe the 8th round, you're betting on Drew Lock.
You really
That's what you're doing.
Do you want to take that?
Are you going to bet? Are you going to take a bet where you're relying on John Elway's ability to evaluate a quarterback? I mean, what we counted it up. He's had 14, right? He's had 14, and several of them were Peyton Manning. So like that's where we are on it. So all right, let's move on here. All right, AJ Green is our wide receiver 31. He's with Cincinnati, obviously, right? And he's seemingly healthy. And a healthy AJ Green as a wide receiver 3, we're probably there just because we don't think he's going to stay healthy for the full year, right? He's
already had a little bit of a hamstring tweak, but he's back now.
He's on the older side of wide receiver. He's over the 30-year-old hump. So he's still going to present value. He's still going to bring a lot to the table for you, but he's got a rookie wide receiver. He's got a new coach, younger coach, second year, right? Stefanski's, he was offensive coordinator last year, right? Up in Minnesota. His first year with Cincy, is that right? Yeah.
No, it's Zach Taylor.
Oh, it's Zach Taylor. Stefanski's down in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I get all the Ohio teams mixed up, right? I mean, same thing.
Same.
Lots of promise and hype.
Lots of disappointment.
Yeah. I mean, you live in Cincinnati, you kind of get used to it, or Ohio. But look, AJ Green is a solid wide receiver. He's performed as a wide receiver 1 every time that he's been healthy.
Yep.
That's the problem. Is he just for 2 years he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And so I don't know what you get coming back from that, but you got to at least look at it and say he's still got something there. And if he's going in 6th round, 4th pick, I don't know about that. I'd want him
maybe
a little bit later.
Yeah, a little bit 7th, 8th would be nice. I just go back to Joe Burrow again. I talked about Tyler Boyd in the middle. He's used to throwing to slot receivers. But also, if you have a guy that is potentially on the verge of a Hall of Fame career and you have that as an option on the outside, you're probably going to throw to him as well because he's going to go up and get it.
You're going to try it once or twice at least. Right?
Just see what haps.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Yeah, just to throw a little tip ball out there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just see how it feels.
Yeah.
Up next, up next at number 30, we have Jarvis Landry of the Cleveland Browns, another Ohio team. Look out!
There you go.
He's going first pick in the 8th round, and I think he's fallen. And a lot of it has to do with we're talking about a lot of injury kind of guys here, but Jarvis Landry's never been a guy that you have to worry about injuries. He's always been super reliable, but he is coming back from a hip injury, and he's practicing, but he's not full go, which is kind of odd, I guess, for what they've said. They thought that he would be back ready to go. Mm-hmm. So that is why he's being, I think, faded a little bit, and the fact that they just added more weapons to the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, if you can get him in the 8th round, I think that's pretty good value. What do you think, Kyle?
I think that's really good. Look, OBJ is going to be better this year. I think that's just a fact. So Jarvis Landry is probably not going to be the wide receiver 1 on that team. If you're playing in PPR, definitely target Jarvis Landry a little bit earlier than the 8th round. He's on pace to actually pass Jerry Rice for catches.
That's insane.
Yeah. Now his efficiency is half the yards. Like Jerry Rice's career average is like 20 yards per catch or something. It's crazy.
And Jarvis is like 10, 11.
No, it's 11, I think, is what it is. So it's pretty crazy. But he's actually on pace. He's the only one. I think he's going to pass Larry Fitzgerald eventually, and it's just all those guys that they're just stalwarts that have just been around forever. But the problem that I have with Jarvis is that there's just too many mouths to feed in that offense now. Yep. But he's a high volume guy. He doesn't get a lot of yards for you. He's going to get a TD here or there. So with that reduced volume that you have to kind of plan on happening a little bit, that's problematic for that guy. All right, so let's move on here to our wide receiver 29, and that is DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. This is another one that you're probably looking at us and going, wait, what?
Yep.
He's currently wide receiver 16 over on Fantasy Pros. Blow your mind right there, right?
Yep.
And he's going 6th pick of the 4th round. Yeah, we're not on board, guys. That I have looked into DK a lot closer because I was like, what am I missing? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. And I'm not wrong. Tyler Lockett is wide receiver 1 on that team, and he's borderline as a wide receiver 1 in the league in fantasy football.
Yeah.
He's probably front end wide receiver 2, maybe middle wide receiver 2. And DK Metcalf, yes, he can run routes better than people said coming out of college. But what people have not caught on to is that he is actually being guarded differently in the NFL than he was in college. Okay. He was scouted as being a speed guy in college. And in the NFL, there's a lot more of those guys. So they're all speed guys. So you don't have to guard them like you would guard a speed guy in college. So what's the difference? In college, the way you guard a speed guy is you smack him in the mouth at the line of scrimmage and knock him off his route. That's what you do. And they have not done that in the NFL. I'm not joking. Go back and watch the tape. They didn't do it. He averaged 10 yards separation at the line of scrimmage for the whole season last year. How do you defend that guy when you're letting him get to top speed and he makes one cut and you're gone? Like, you're off of him. That's all he has to do. So while he is a better route runner than people gave him credit for, he's not better in the respect that he's going to be able to recover if they figure that move out. They figure it out, he's done for. It's just like Stephon Gilmore. He got figured out at the end of last year. They figured out that he presses outside coverage if you're inside the numbers, and if you're outside the numbers, he presses inside coverage, and that he will not trail, he will not go off, like, he doesn't change it. So, yeah. Same sort of deal. You just got to figure it out. You trick, boom, hit him in the face, just right at the line of scrimmage, and he's done for.
So I just look at it real quick with DK is the fact that Seattle was actually messing around with the idea of bringing Antonio Brown in. You know, if you're thinking about bringing Antonio Brown in, that might make you think, okay, maybe they're not quite sold on what DK Metcalf can do this year. And, you know, I think next year, I think next year is going to be maybe a different conversation that we're having here. It's just, I don't think we're quite ready yet, and I don't know if he's quite ready yet either. So at number 28, we have Keenan Allen of the LA Chargers. I got it right, Kyle. LA Chargers. He's going first pick in the 5th round. Ooh,
that's really early.
Yeah, that's really early. I mean, one of the best route runners, I would say, in the NFL. But he doesn't offer you much else after that. He's not a go up and get it kind of wide receiver, never has been. He's not a huge yak guy either. It's just he is the prototypical route runner, possession receiver type guy. And he just lost his best weapon, and that's Phillip Rivers, because he would hone in on Keenan Allen a lot. And even when I said that, I don't think he's topped 5 touchdowns the last 6 years. Or is it 6 touchdowns the last 6 years? I mean, for a guy that's got that many targets over the last quite a few years, that's a very low number of touchdowns. And we just see that passing volume going down a lot this year when you have Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's improved in value a little bit just because Mike Williams is now out for a while, right?
Yeah.
So that does bring his value up.
Maybe that offsets a little bit of the
just a tad bit, but man, his consistency is a huge problem. And that wasn't Phillip Rivers. That was straight up just Keenan Allen. He would disappear. He would just not run routes during games, and he would just disappear. And you can think we're crazy all you want, but literally go look at his breakdown over the last few years, game by game, and you'll see he'll have one game, disappears for 2. Has a game, disappears for 2. Last year, he had I think he had 8 games where he presented as a wide receiver 2 or better. I think he only had 1 or 2 weeks of wide receiver 1. We've talked about him in depth before, and you can check that out. It was in one of our first wide receiver ranking episodes that we did this summer. And it gets really bad, guys. He didn't break 100 yards most of the season at all. And then even when he did, it was like unpredictable. But he was outside of the top 60 most of the year. So to draft him in the 5th round, you need consistency. That's what not consistently bad, right? You need consistently good. And that's not what you're getting. You better be hitting on your first 4 or 5 picks. Like, you can't make mistakes there. That's why people spend so much.
5 games or something like that. And it's not like it was 5 games in a row. They were
sporadic. They were not. Yeah, it was very sporadic.
All right,
All right,
got
moving
next?
on. At wide receiver 27 for us, we have Diontae Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's going right now in the 5th pick of the 9th round. He is graded out as wide receiver 41 over on Fantasy Pros. We like him better than that. We like the Steelers' offense. We like it a lot. We like the fact that Ben Roethlisberger is apparently he looks younger, is what they're saying. That he's back. He's lost a lot of weight.
He's been dealing with
he's
elbow
younger.
pain for 10 years, and now he doesn't have it. The only pain he has is just a little soreness just from having the surgery and everything. It's crazy.
The same reason we like Matt Stafford is the same reason that we like Ben Roethlisberger.
Absolutely.
There's not much else to like about Ben Roethlisberger, but you can at least like the way, well, not a great person.
I know.
But you can at least like the way he plays football, right?
Yeah. He played the football.
And Diontae Johnson last year stepped up to the plate when he was we joke every time, right? He was playing without quarterbacks, at least pro level quarterbacks. Duck and dent, right?
Trademark,
duck and dent. Dent should have ducked is what he should have done.
Well, he's got zingers
but
today,
those were
folks.
I do, don't I? Those were the guys that he was getting thrown to by. They couldn't throw it beyond 5 yards, and you think I'm being hyperbolic? Like literally, they couldn't throw it beyond 5 yards unless you were the tight end and you were looking the wrong direction.
Right.
So there were passes they literally hit the tight ends in the back. It's bad.
You talk about him all the time when it says like this guy took a 5-yard pass and he took off. I mean,
his
just the
yards
amount of
after the catch
separation
were
he
great.
was able to get right after he caught the ball was outstanding. So we think with a better QB and Ben Roethlisberger, I think he's really going to outperform some of what the other draft pundits say. I'm still a little lower on him than you are. You've done a lot more in-depth research on him, so I'm going to kind of
top rookie wide receiver last year in targets and receptions.
Yeah,
and that was with Duck and Dent for 14 games.
Duck and Dent, fellas. Duck and Dent. All right, up next we have number 26. We have Stefon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills. I'll make sure I get that one right. Second pick in the 5th round. Fantasy Pros has him at 21, number 21 wide receiver. So we're a little lower on him than some other people. And then I think it kind of goes back on what Diontae Johnson had to go with last year. Well, that's what Stefon Diggs has to go with this year, and it's a somewhat erratic QB. And Diggs is very talented, but he makes his money on like go routes.
Oh yeah,
and you need someone that has post routes. Josh Allen has plenty of arm. It's just can he get it to the right spot?
Too much arm.
Yeah. We always kind of
like we just need a
if you want to have
guy.
a good if you want to have a good laugh, just watch the overthrows by Josh Allen last year on YouTube. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I like Diggs, but he is very boomer bust. He was very boomer bust in Minnesota, and now you go to a less accurate QB and an offense that wants to run even more than Minnesota does. And I think that that's just a recipe for a disaster at that draft price. Second pick of the 5th round. Again, consistency, guys. You need top level consistency at that point. You're drafting a guy who's a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 in the 5th round, right?
Yeah.
So you better be sure.
And it's one of those things real quick. All the talks out of camp is Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen are really meshing really well, but we're not going to see any actual game time until the week 1. So we really don't know what that really meshing is going to be. I mean, John Brown put up a very decent year last year.
I'm willing to bet John Brown finishes as wide receiver 1 on that team in targets, receptions, and yardage.
I would take that bet, but I don't want to because it's a bad bet for me.
Yeah.
All right, up next at number 25, we have Terry Scary McLaurin.
Yeah, so, Scary Terry.
He's going as the 11th pick in the 5th round, wide receiver 25 on Fantasy Pros. Hey, we're right on line.
Hey, there you go.
For him, it's one of those things where he's the number 1 option. There's really no other, Steven Sims.
I like Steven Sims.
I like Steven Sims as well. But when it comes to the potential of taking wide receiver 1, no, that's not going to happen. You can't have a guy that's 5'8" being the number 1 wide receiver on offense. So that's why we think Terry McLaurin is going to be.
I don't know. Hollywood Brown's trying to do it.
Well, they say he's 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah. My problem with them is that this offense doesn't score.
It really doesn't.
That's it. The
It's
Washington
like me in
football team
college.
doesn't score.
It's just me in college. You just don't score, man. But I
Play a lot of
it's one of those
sports?
things where they're gonna throw, I think, a little bit more. I don't know what the Washington football team is really going to do this year. I just know this is the best weapon that they have, and if you have the best weapon,
Rivera, you could anticipate a little bit better, but he's sick, so I don't really know what's going to happen out there. I have a real problem with this offense this year. They averaged 14 points last year, and what did they do to improve that offense? They didn't do anything really, not a whole lot. They even lost a guy who had the potential to improve them. Well, they didn't lose him; they had to cut him, and they did. For the all the right reasons, but that's problematic. So that's we go.
That's a tough one. Terry McLaurin. Yeah. I mean, let us know what you think on Terry McLaurin and why we're doing this based on volume potential.
Yeah, but he's going 11th pick of the 5th round. I don't necessarily hate that. That's the thing, is that I think that you can be in a bad offense and still do well. Mm-hmm. I think it's harder for a wide receiver.
Hello, Allen Robinson. Come on down.
Yeah, it is harder for a wide receiver to do that, but he's literally the only guy to throw to, and that was Allen Robinson last year. Yep. And I don't think that Dwayne Haskins is absolutely trash. I think he's actually a serviceable guy. I think he's going to be
better than Mitchell Trubisky.
I think 100% he's better than Trubisky. Because I think he's actually pretty accurate, and I think he's also got a football IQ that you can't ignore. And look, McLaurin gets open. That's what he does. And Haskins can get the ball and can get it to the spot. So I don't think that's a terrible thing to go and buy. So that's why I like him kind of where we have him. And that's why I like him at that price. I think that's pretty solid. You're taking the turn from the 5 to 6 round, and you're getting a guy who's probably going to get you wide receiver 2 up end, top end. He's going to get good wide receiver 2 value every few weeks, right? And you can keep him in your lineup because he's going to present a solid level of targets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's All right, guys, that's it for wide receiver 3 for us going into the season actually here. So we're closing out all the rankings, and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you get notified when we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. We're going to be doing that every week of the season. And we're going to help you guys find all of those moves that you need to make throughout the year so that you can anticipate what to do before anybody else in your league is figuring it out. All right?
Yep.
So thanks for being a fan of the upside, and we will see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Bye.